Now, before we let you solidify that choice, we're going to show you what's on the outside of the box, and we're going to see if this would change your mind, Mr. Megan. $1,000 iTunes gift card, and there's still more inside. We don't know if it's good or bad. Does this change your mind at all? Do you want to stay with the small box, or are we still going to look at the big box? Small box. These rated. To the big box. I'm so sorry. So maybe we'll see what our redemption show. All right. Okay, so much. Big deal. Tell us a little bit yourself, sir.
My name is Eric. I'm from Modesto, California, and I am a dancer, and I am a new substitute teacher.
Give a big round of applause. So, capture on some music, you can show us what you do. Get it, Eric. Okay, all right. Hey, who does live? Oh, that was before.
Hello, everyone.
Orly, is that you?
Yes, it is. Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. You're under
sir.
the rabbi's name here, so.
Oh, I am? Oh,
You
goodness. Oh, that's right, because I didn't have a I didn't have the link. I'll change my
Right.
name.
It was sent to you, yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
notice that. It'd be nice to be rabbi for a day.
Hi, Yosef. You're muted.
I'm on. I got you.
Okay.
You're
Good
right.
morning.
The real rabbi has shown up.
There you go. Oh,
Hello.
I'm glad you got the link.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Kalinsky, as well.
I don't know what happened. I sent your name and, the information along with the rest of the list, so.
It may have gotten lost in my email in a junk email or something.
Mm.
That means that the shark has stopped moving and you're safe from that.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Carol, is that you?
That's me.
All right. Good morning, how are you?
I'm alive. That's amazing.
Hey. And don't have COVID. That's
Oh my
really the
God.
main thing these days.
I know.
Good morning, Marilyn.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. It is a pretty nice morning. We can't complain.
Right.
Let's listen to the sound.
Mary, I don't know if you see the email from Alana. I think she wants the link to the meeting again.
Oh, Lord. I don't know what happened to this link. Ebenezer?
She said she can't get on. Can you resend her the link, please?
Okay.
We got $2,000. You're a substitute teacher.
Is it just me, or do other people hear a television show in the background?
I hear it as well.
Oh, it's, you know what? It's mine. Silly. How silly of me.
Sorry.
Joseph, the last background was better.
Okay, I
This
can
is
switch it.
beautiful. This is beautiful.
Well,
The la-
this is actually Washington Heights. That's taken from my apartment. But the
Nice.
first one is our grist center in Israel. I'm happy to put that back up. It depends on. I was on a meeting this morning at 8:30 with people in Israel. So
Oh, wonderful.
that was we were approving another school to join one of our joint programs. So I used this background. So that's what came up right away. But if people like it, I'm happy to keep it up.
I like it. Plus, it makes me feel like I'm not in New York for a bit.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Hola, Maria. You're on
You're
mute.
mute. You're
on
muted, my dear.
Good morning, good morning.
There you
Hi,
are.
good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Maria, I finally remembered to tune into your show last night and
Oh,
didn't understand a word because it was all in Spanish. Oh well, it is
yeah,
what it is. What it is.
didn't have time to do the
Anda.
translation. But anyway, another day. The issue was guardianship. You know, you're very familiar with that.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Good morning, Fern. You're muted.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
Is that Fern? Hi, Fern. Can you hear me, Fern? No.
Yes, I hear you, Maria.
How slow is this thing at the Armory? Or is it going okay?
I don't know exactly what's happening at the Armory because they have so many access points now. With
Yes. Yeah, you're so right.
The new tool that they gave us is a little more complicated and it takes a little bit longer. But the nice thing is that you can schedule a time and you don't have to wait for them to get back to you with the time. It's a one phone call to the client. They were having some problems with multiple record errors, but they now at the end, if you get a multiple record, they give you a phone number to call, and you can right away schedule with a person who merges the records, and it as you speak to them. So it's going well.
Yeah. But I don't think although the volume is there, I don't think it's quite as high as it was a couple of weeks ago. And I'm suspecting that may be because of the hotline number that they've instituted so that clients can call directly and make their own appointments. And I'll get
I also wonder if we haven't hit critical mass of the people who wanted the vaccine, who weren't hesitant. And now we have to work more on the education piece of getting people to understand how safe and important the vaccine is, so that we can make the appointments with those people who are nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a problem because a lot of people from my area are just walking in. I just, without an appointment. I have asked people, they say, I just got it. I just walked there to the door and then they walk me in. And so we're going through all this trouble and they are really overdoing, overriding the process. So it's very frustrating. And then I got called people saying they haven't called me, they haven't said anything. What is happening? And the person next door to them already had the vaccine. So something had to, something had to be.
I'll reach out to the team today, because I've had a couple of questions about that too, because Dave Crenshaw in particular puts out on on his email blasts all the time that you can walk in, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's
because of that, Fern, we having problem with people that we have registered and they're still waiting for the call. And then Davey, calls me all the time. I got someone in, like 2 minutes ago. I mean, what is happening. So
Yeah, I don't know. I know that Dory is working on your list this morning though, Maria.
okay,
The one that you sent me last.
people who have some precondition, whatever they call. I mean, people that have high blood pressure, they have, they have all the-
Diabetes, yep. Mhm.
Is that really priority high blood pressure? I think everybody has high blood pressure anyway. But I mean, what is it that they consider a precondition?
They're saying as long as you say that you have high blood pressure and you swear to it on a piece of paper, they're gonna let you get the vaccine. I originally told people they had to have medical notes, but apparently that's not the case. They're letting people self-attest.
The thing about medical notes, and I'm telling you that it's happening up here. People have had to go to the doctor. Now you cannot just walk into a doctor's office to begin with. Some
Right.
doctors are asking a charge to write a letter or a
Right,
note.
so that's why they stopped asking for it.
Who's going to complain? Someone that is 72 years old go to the doctor and say you have to pay $40 for the letter to come to the armory and get a free shot. That's immoral. It's incredible. I mean, and it's happening.
Right, so send out the word, Maria. They don't need a note. They just need to sign a paper swearing that they have whatever condition it is they have.
Well, I told someone, bring your medicine and show them that you're
Right.
taking all the, 20 different pills every day, and
Yeah.
then they have to take you in. That's
Yeah.
it. But
Okay,
This is
folks.
this. Yeah.
We need-
Okay. You're
we
talking
need to-
about people who are over 65. I thought they have to show anything. They still have to show a condition.
Over 65 only have to show proof they live in the city.
Right. So you're talking about people who are under 65
Under
who have a medical condition.
65
Right.
with comorbidities. If you need me to send the list of comorbid conditions to Mary to distribute, I can do that.
Okay, great.
And I
Right,
also
but-
have the zip code area
Yeah.
that the Armory is serving.
But remember that some of our senior members are between 60 and 65. They're under 65, so it still has, relevance to our centers.
Okay,
I
Got
just
it.
got a call before I tune in
folks, let me interrupt for a minute. Let's make this officially part of the meeting, okay?
Okay.
So I want to call the meeting to order
Okay.
All right.
Good morning, Mary.
at 10:39 a.m. Good morning, Glennis. How
Good
are you?
morning. Good morning, Mary.
Okay, so, we've had a little bit of offline that I want to put online discussion, and I think, Yosef, you caught it all, so you can probably just
Mhm.
have, a line or two about this discussion, and then Fern can send the full information. I have it in some of my emails, but I may or may not be able to access it. So.
I'll send it to both of you.
Okay, good, thank you. So you can, Joseph, include that in the minutes. Okay, thank you. Let's move on because I'm aware of the time. We have two very important discussions. I'm going to start with Orly Hauser, who was from Yeshiva School of Social Work. And Orly, I want to apologize because I spelled your name wrong on the agenda, and I didn't realize it until after I'd sent it out. So
All good.
anyway,
All
it
good.
is what it is. My finger forgot to push that button. So Dr. Orly Hauser is going to have a presentation. She's from the Wertzheiler School of Social Work, and she's going to present on the Care Cafe.
Thank you so much. Excuse me. And thank you so much for allowing me to come today. And thank you, Rabbi Kalinsky, for setting that up for me. Care Cafe is really excited to expand our services into the Washington Heights area. I mean, we're already there, but we want to be more present. And so let me tell you what we do. I'm not going to take the whole half hour because I'm hoping that you guys will basically tell me what it is that you would like us to do in the area. So what are we, first of all? Well, Care Cafe was developed as a sort of modeled on these how to fix things cafes that were going on in Europe. They had these times when people would come into a cafe and they would have some coffee and then they'd listen to a lecture on how to fix your bike or how to fix your microwave or things like that, things that people need to know, but they usually go and outsource those things. So this way people had coffee and they learned them. The dean of Wurzweiler School of Social Work thought to herself, wouldn't that be neat if we did that? But instead of fixing your bike, it would be some sort of how to fix your spirit, how to fix broken spirits, working on mental health as opposed to working on a bicycle. And so she developed Care Cafe with others. And Care Cafe, before the pandemic, was basically a sort of moving cafe, would go to different areas and give workshops and events on different mental health ideas. Right now, we're doing everything online. So we are city funded from the City of New York grants. We have 3 different areas that we work in. One is Holocaust survivor programming. One is, which is probably most relevant, I think, to this group, we have programming for parents in high schools, so the parent associations in high schools in Washington Heights, and veteran programming. The kind of things that we have done, actually, I was wondering if I can share my screen, and would I be allowed to do that, or can I show you pictures?
Yeah, hold on, Ebenezer.
Yes, Mary.
Dr. Hauser would like to share her screen. Can you set that up?
Sure.
Thank you so much. There we go. Wonderful. And now I'll get off my email that it just accidentally gave me. So yeah, I thought maybe I could share you some pictures of things to give a better idea. Where is it? So with Holocaust survivors, one of the biggest issues that we had was that people were feeling isolated. And so one thing what we did is we, first of all, we want to get them on Zoom because they're feeling isolated, but how can they go on Zoom? They don't know how to do that, and they don't necessarily have what they need. So we gave out a bunch of tablets to elderly people. This is mostly in Borough Park. And we're working with a partner organization that went around and taught people how to get on Zoom and what to really have like a recurring link so that it's easy enough for them to find every week. And every single Tuesday, we have stories and entertainment. So this is just a couple pictures. Here's our entertainer over here, and all of our listeners. They're really shy. Some of them don't necessarily want to have their cameras on, but they end up participating, singing, taking part in the storytelling, talking about things that went on with them. We've also, for this particular population, we've also had concerts before holidays. We've given out care packages and gifts for them before holidays. You can see looking for pictures of, here's, for instance, mugs that we've given out to them, and all sorts of care packages and things. And we also, for this population, we've had some lectures. We've had lectures on intergenerational trauma, which is particularly interesting, not just for the Holocaust survivors, but for their children as well. We've also had lectures on hate in general and anti-Semitism and discrimination. Here's a picture from one of our latest programs where we had this man over here is a former white supremacist. He started a white supremacist group called the Hammersmith Nation, which you may have heard of. A member of this group actually went into the Sikh temple that this man over here, Pradeep, is part of, and killed 7 people. 6 at the time, just died last year. And so Pradeep lost his father in that attack. And here you see the two of them have become friends and learn how to sort of work through healing after such a thing. Obviously, Arnaud's no longer a white supremacist, or that would never have happened. So we have we have speakers and things like that, but we also have workshops. For instance, for the Parents Association and the veterans groups, we've had many speakers. Let me go down and show you. That was a picture of my daughter, by the way, putting together care packages for the Holocaust survivors. So we have speakers on. Here's one of our speakers who was talking about stress relief and how to sort of survive parenting during the pandemic. We have speakers talking about, here's a speaker who was talking about mental health and debunking the stigma around mental health. We've had speakers talk about substance abuse. We've had speakers talk about do yoga and Pilates and breathing exercises. We're sponsoring a wellness fair with one of the schools in Washington Heights. We've had cooking classes to have emphasis on, here, I'm gonna stop sharing, here we go, to have emphasis on healthy eating and teach people how to eat healthily. A lot of this programming actually happens in Spanish. Sometimes we have a translator, sometimes the people presenting are doing it in Spanish themselves. We've had programming on how to use technology for people who don't necessarily know how to get on Zoom or how to get on different programs that they can get on to help them through the pandemic. We've had Parents' Night Out and other lectures on mental health. Again, these are things that just sort of break isolation and get people feeling less overwhelmed by what's going on around them. Because we work with vulnerable populations, we've often provided, like for the cooking nights and things like that, we would provide food as well. We're having a huge veterans fair coming up in about a month, where we're going to have people who provide different resources to the veteran populations come together and showcase each and every one what they do. And everyone will be getting sort of a care package as well as part of that. So basically, you can see that we're all over the place. We do all sorts of different things for different populations. The only sort of boundaries that Care Cafe actually has is that we need to be helping people in New York, and it needs to be a vulnerable population. And vulnerable population, of course, is defined in many different ways. One of the places we'd love to see ourselves do more work is in the area surrounding Yeshiva University, because that's our home turf. And so that's where you guys come in. So really, what I would love to hear is what Care Cafe can do for you and the people that you work with. What kind of programming could we offer? What's needed? Friendly phone calls? Is it care packages? Is it one-on-one visits? Some of these things are harder to do in a pandemic, but still, are there certain topics that people would like to see approached? So I really would rather than talk to you and show you more pictures, hear what you guys have to say and see how we can form partnerships with your organizations and create programming that benefits everyone.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Any committee members have questions or comments for Orly?
Can you send us information about what's coming up if we gave you our email?
Certainly, absolutely. Let me put in the question and answer. Can I do that? Oh, let's see. That's not going to work. Let me change my name here to my email address. Having a lot of name changes today. And then so there you go. So that's my email address. And you can email me and I'm more than happy to send you all the schedule. Plus, pretty soon the schedule will be up on our Care Cafe webpage. So I can send you a link to that. And Facebook always has information on what's coming up. And people are welcome to come. For instance, next week we have a presentation for veterans on stress relief, but you don't need to be a veteran if you can still attend. We have a presentation on how to tell your own story coming up this month as well. For people who've been through things that are emotionally traumatic, sometimes it's really helpful to to talk about it, but people don't really know how, and people don't know how to create sort of a story that'll get people engaged in listening. And people really want to tell their story, but they're like, oh, I don't have 3 hours to do this. You know, how do I cut it down and stuff? We have a workshop to help people learn how to do those things. Richard, you're muted.
Okay.
There you are.
I would start with appreciation. Just I've had the chance to attend some Care Cafe presentations in the past. The breadth and the excellence of what you do is very much there. I wanted right now to pick up on what the things you were saying about Zoom and about connecting seniors. I think it's something all of us are doing, with the big labor intensive challenge being at the front end, because to use an overly cute phrase, you can't use Zoom to connect people who don't know how to use Zoom. Are there some ways, I mean, we're starting to find some ways to do that one-on-one, which is really labor intensive. And what else are you finding, or what thoughts do you have? And I'd add, we've seen 2 instructional booklets so far on Zoom, in addition to what you've mentioned. One coming from the Durat Senior Services, and one coming from Hebrew Tabernacle Congregation in Washington Heights.
What we found, we're partnering with Nachas Health Network for this out in Bureau Park, and they send people to people's homes, and they've been sending people who have had corona. So I don't know that that's necessarily the best way to go, but they felt like if these people have recently had it, then they don't have it again. They have antibodies, so and also often to seniors who've also already had it, and they were just showing them one-on-one. It was really the best way to do it. But other ways, sort of ensure that there's a link on their computer that all they have to do is press on that button, you know, and then it gets right away. So they kind of set up the computer for them, or the tablet. A lot of these women are using tablets, so that all they have to do is go on there. Now, it doesn't help completely, because we still have people who attend and their pictures upside down for the entire, you know, thing. And we try and say like, oh, well, this is how to unmute yourself and that sort of thing. One thing I do during the sessions is I'm there and I'm constantly monitoring, because people will take phone calls and things and they don't know that everyone hears them. So I go through and I mute people as we go along. And then when they want to speak again and they don't know how to unmute themselves, I send them a mute request so that it pops up. And, you know, so there's a lot of sort of one-on-one monitoring of what's going on. And some people only join from phone too, which is also a little bit awkward, but one-on-one is really the best way. We have some people who have caretakers with them, and so the caretakers also take part in that. And it's much easier to explain to the caretaker, there's a button on your left that looks like a microphone, you know, press on that and then you'll be unmuted. But no, I don't have any better advice other than the fact that there are some tablets available that are very large screen. I mean, but I think you obviously already know this. Large screen is really important for this. We can't expect seniors to be using their phones. Even if they have phones, they don't know how to do Zoom and stuff from their phone. It's too small for them to see. I think it's hard for those of us who aren't seniors as well. So I don't know if that really answered, but
You're going to get a great follow-up question here.
awesome.
Anyone else?
Hey, Mary.
Fern over there.
Mary.
Fern has her
It's
hand
Fern.
up. Go ahead, Fern. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi and welcome, Dr. Hauser. We've actually partnered with Care Cafe long ago under a different director, so we're sort of familiar with the program. But you mentioned a couple of things that I think are critical in the conversation in this neighborhood about connectivity and activities in a time when people can't gather in person. which is the majority of our seniors can't afford internet and don't have the equipment to participate, even if they could afford internet, but they can't afford internet. And we've looked into it. It's about $600 per year per person to get them a tablet that, never mind the cost of the tablet, but to get them a tablet that comes with Wi-Fi.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Is this something that is a distribution that you are still doing or interested in doing? Because we're talking about a lot of people in Washington Heights who would really benefit from what you're offering, but barely have phones that are meant.
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So we went and purchased tablets, and the people had Wi-Fi in their own home. But I found out after the fact that we might not have been allowed to do that. We did it anyways. I mean, we did it before we knew. Not sure if that would be counted as, sorry, as appropriate for, I'm sorry, I have things popping up on my screen. Sorry. Sorry. As it might be considered like a capital purchase or something like that. So I have to sort of look into that some more in terms of buying the actual equipment for people. So that's really always a big problem. And so the answer is yes and no. I mean, we're still interested in doing it. I would have to double check with the people who finance us again and say, like, okay, wait, like now, first time we already did it, but now this is the plan and this is what we'd be doing, and see if they'd let us do that.
But, again, I think what Fern's raising is even if they have a tablet and they don't have Wi-Fi, we haven't helped them. So I don't know if anyone has a good answer for that, because that's a tremendous. I know we, as a committee and as a community board, we've asked for Wi-Fi across the the city and the Heights, and I don't know where that is up to, but those are major capital projects.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so it's complex because everything that we're doing right now, and each senior center is in a different place with this because we have different skill sets and different economic circumstances with different seniors. But I'm in a very poor part of Washington Heights and predominantly non-English speaking part of Washington Heights. And for us, we're actually only doing one activity in the Heights on Zoom. Everything else is via conference call. And so it may be a worthwhile conversation to think about what you can offer via conference call that would allow at least more participation than via Zoom.
It's Alana at Riverstone. Yeah, we're in the same situation as Fern's population. We have a couple of Zoom classes, but very limited number of people can attend or do attend.
How many people do you tend to have on a conference call? How many people attend? Yeah.
Depending on who's running it, anywhere between 5 and 12. We don't want to go beyond that because you can't individualize responses to people when you get too big.
And we actually have fewer than that because we're that population who's on the conference or WhatsApp or whatever, about 4, and it's for people with memory loss. So that has to be very limited.
Right.
A limitation on the number of people. It depends what you use as your platform for the conference call.
Yeah.
We've been, and Fern might as well, I'm just in the process of applying. We've applied for 70 laptops and Wi-Fi, didn't get it. And we're just looking for anybody who's willing to provide some laptops for our population. Because this is not going to end with the pandemic. We all know that. People are going to become homebound, and this would be a lifesaver for everybody.
I'll look in with the finance people of the city, the ones who are in charge of our grants, and ask. Also curious of these of the people that that are in need, are any of them veterans?
No, not mine. Maybe.
Not likely.
Not likely. Okay.
Most of our older adults in the senior center at present, though the population is changing, and Alana and I are only about 10 blocks apart. So we tend to serve a fairly similar population, and it's in the process of changing. But the current population mostly are emigres who came here as adults. So they would not have served in our military. There's occasional exceptions to that. We do have a few, but it's not the majority by any means.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think about my budget when I asked that question. I would love to set up a meeting at some point to talk about sort of individual needs and then see what we can set up via conference call. One thing that I think sometimes helps, I mean, I know it's cheesy, but if people know that they're going to have a conference call at like 4 o'clock, but then they're delivered a little bag that has something written on it. So this is what we're going to go over, and this is what we're going to do. And oh, and by the way, in here, like, here's a nice mug to drink tea from while you're having the call, and here's some tea, and here's a snack. They feel more like they're together with other people, as opposed to just, you know, on a call, because they know everyone else has gotten the same thing, and everyone else is looking at the same thing. And maybe it's more like a Band-Aid than, you know, supplying a tablet, and it's cheesy, but I find it to be somewhat effective.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Shuli, do you think perhaps we might invite Orly to one of our community director meetings?
That would be great.
Intense discussion.
That would be great. Orly, would you like me to send you the invite to the next one is on March, what did we say in the end?
16th, I think.
March 16th at 9:30 a.m.
Oh, yeah. I can do that.
Okay. So I'm going to add you to that list, and then you'll get all future stuff, but just remind me to take you off when you want to go off, because it's just easier for me just to put you on the bulk. So when I write that I'm sending it to everyone, it'll go to you.
So the 9 senior centers and self-help and the ISEP program, care management program out of Isabella, are the community directors that are invited. And normally 6 out of the 12 are there, which is a pretty good number.
I'm going to send the link out like a week in advance. So I'm putting you on the list now, so you'll get it at the time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or any comments about where we could be most useful?
So I have one more, if you don't mind, Mary.
Go ahead.
We're also in Harlem. We have 2 senior centers in Central Harlem, where we do have a much larger veterans population and a significant homeless population. So those are 2 groups that we would be most interested in working with you around.
That's wonderful. Perhaps you could email me, and we could also set up a phone call about that, so that we can make sure that everyone's included in the Veterans Fair coming up and some of the veteran things. Yes, we would love that. We would love that.
Thanks, Mary. Sorry.
Well, great connections have been made here. Wow.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Like, I really appreciate it.
All right. Any last questions? Going once?
Mary.
Yes.
Would I be able to ask a question?
Go ahead.
My name is Juliet Lopez. I work with a program that serves people with disabilities, and I'm interested in getting information to share with benefit counselors. Would that be possible?
What kind of information? You mean about Care Cafe? Or?
Regarding your program, we serve people with any disabilities, and that could include veterans. And our program is throughout the 5 boroughs. So we assist people with benefits. It could be based on their needs.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you think that you could email me and maybe we could set up a time to talk as well, because we're happy to develop the programming according to needs.
Okay, so I will put my email and cell phone on the chat.
I don't know if I can see the chat. Well, maybe I can. It's a Q&A is what it shows up for me.
Let me mute myself and see if I could type it, or I can send it to Mary. Let me see.
Mariah. I have your information, Lilia, so that I can send it to Orly if you can't get it in the Q&A. Okay.
I just typed it, but I don't know if it went through.
Which is
llopez@sydney.org.
No.
It didn't go through, Lilia.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Lillian, I will send it to Orly, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just had a thought. Don't laugh. When you started talking about the European cafes, I thought, well, not my bike, but I'd love to have some information on fixing something in my apartment. And since with so many shut-ins, have you considered doing something in a fix-up mode?
Have considered that. I think I got shut down because they were saying, well, it has to be mental health related.
Well, your apartment is big on mental health, I can tell you.
You know what? If you think that if you can come up with the ideas of something that everybody sort of that affects a lot of people in terms of this breaks down all the time or whatever, I'll find someone to give an online lecture on how to fix it. Don't know how I'll find that person because I can hardly find people to help me at home, but I'll find somebody.
Well, that's the thing. You don't, I mean, a lot of the night shift people spend the whole day waiting and they don't come. So if they maybe had an idea how to fix it themselves, they'd be a lot happier.
Just out of curiosity.
I'll take input from all the people that I talk with and maybe come up with something, a common theme.
We're very open to all sorts of different ideas. So yeah, my email is right. I'm going to try and point to it here under right here. So just email me and I'm very, oh, you're on the phone. You can't see my email.
No, I can't, but I figured I'd get it somehow.
Just email me, Carol. I'll send it to you.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Fern.
No problem.
Okay. On that note, let us move on to our second presenter, Juan Rosa, who I think Juan is, I should have done introductions, but I guess we figured
you'll have to excuse me because I have another meeting.
Really, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people know Juan Rosa. I think most everybody knows him. He's going to present today on ranked choice voting, which is going to be coming up quickly. And I know that my encounters with people in my neighborhood and some friends of mine haven't heard about this. That's scary.
No, she didn't. Not me.
You'll have to excuse me. I have another meeting, so I have to take off. But thank you so much, everyone.
Not me.
I'm sorry. What happened?
Julie, you might want to mute.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, terribly sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Most of you I know, 99% of you I know. So it's good to be home, as I consider CV12 and Washington Heights and Inwood home. And thanks so much to Mary and Fern and the whole committee for inviting me today to talk a little bit about ranked choice voting. I do have a PowerPoint, but I'm not going to completely adhere by it. Ebenezer, if you could please allow me to share my screen. And I know, Carol, you are on the phone, so you won't be able to see the presentation, but I replied to the email that Mary sent with the agenda, and the presentation is attached therein. And just so you know, Orly's email is also in there for your reference. Okay, so, okay. So we're going to talk to you about ranked choice voting, as Mary shared. I am here representing the NALEO Educational Fund. NALEO is the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that facilitates the full participation of U.S. Latinos in the U.S. political process. We're established in 1981 by the same member of Congress who also established the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the late Ed Roybal from California. We do our work through a variety of ways. One, we promote naturalization. So we promote the access to the naturalization process and defend its affordability and accessibility so that more people can gain U.S. citizenship. We do voter education and voter engagement like the one we're going to do today. And again, I want to reiterate that it's on a complete nonpartisan basis. We don't support either party. We don't support particular candidates. And we also don't support ballot initiatives and ballot measures. We operate the 8888-BAY-VOTA hotline. The hotline is a nonpartisan bilingual information hotline where voters from across the country can call in to get information about elections in their localities. We are different than other hotlines in the way that our hotline is fully operated by trained operators who are part of our staff. They're not volunteers that come on and off. They actually belong to our staff. They're trained periodically on all things elections, all things naturalization, and they're able to answer voters' calls from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, that is 888-BAY-VOTA, which is 888-839-8682. We are partnering with the Campaign Finance Board to do a public outreach and education campaign on ranked choice voting. As you know, the Campaign Finance Board is a New York City agency which administers the city's public matching funds program and provides things like financial disclosures and engages voters about New York City, about voting in New York City. It is mandated by the Charter of the City of New York to carry out an outreach campaign for ranked choice voting, specifically in communities with large numbers of immigrant voters, large numbers of disenfranchised voters, such as will be Washington Heights and Inwood. So how did ranked choice voting get to New York City? In 2019, the Charter Revision Committee voted to put ballot question 1 on the ballot for that year's elections. And 73.5% of New York City voters voted to affirm ballot question 1 and institute ranked choice voting. So ranked choice voting is a new way for voters to elect their reps, and they get to select 5 choices in order of preference from 1 through 5 instead of just 1. Just so you know, ranked choice voting has been instituted in other localities like San Francisco, Oakland, Minneapolis, the state of Maine. It's important to note that the particulars of ranked choice voting vary from from locality to locality. So for example, in Minneapolis, you're only able to rank your 3 top choices, whereas in New York City, you'll get the opportunity to rank up to 5 choices. The ranked choice voting became effective January 1st. It will be used only in primary and special elections for the New York City offices, so not New York State, for the New York City offices of mayor, public advocate, controller, borough president, and member of the city council. It will not be used in general election, so we're going to use it in June, but we will not use it in November. And it is not used for federal or state elections, and it is not used for local elections like the one for DA. So the Manhattan DA race will be exempted from ranked choice voting. Judicial races will be exempted from ranked choice voting. Party positions will also be exempted from ranked choice voting. Again, it is only for these offices and it's only for special and primary elections. In New York City, for example, it has been used already. So voters in Queens in districts 24 and 31st already use ranked choice voting for the special elections that took place on February 2nd and February 23rd. Voters in the Bronx in District 11 and District 15 are going to start using ranked choice voting for the March 23rd special election. And as you know or may know, not only do we have ranked choice voting, but we also have early voting. So for example, the folks in District 11 and 15 in the Bronx, they're going to start using ranked choice voting not on March 23rd, but actually on Saturday, March 13th, when the early voting period starts. So already 4 city council districts will have been using ranked choice voting by the time we get to June. And obviously in June, we're going to have the primary elections. That is for all voters registered in the Democratic or Republican Party, and the special election period, the early election period for that starts Saturday, June 12th. So that's the way it looks in New York City. Again, a big chunk of voters have already used ranked choice voting in Queens and the Bronx, and the rest of us will get to use it in June 22nd. So how does ranked choice voting work? So this is a sample ballot for the special election that just took place in District 31st in Brooklyn, in Queens. And as you can see, it doesn't have party lines because remember that special elections are nonpartisan. So candidates get to make their own party line. So you can see the candidate and then the name of the party they ran on in this special election. I believe that the results of that election have still not been certified, but that's the last election to use ranked choice voting out in Queens. So how do voters mark their ranked choice ballot? The voters will pick, again, 5 choices, and they will rank them. They will bubble in the oval in order of preference from 1 through 5. So again, in New York City, you have the option to do up to 5. In other places, it differs. The voter has the option to select 1, 2, 3, or 4, or up to 5 other choices. They are not obligated to make the 5 choices. They have the choices, but they do not have to make it. Then how are votes counted? All the votes are counted, and if one candidate takes more than 50% of the vote, if they're the number 1 choice for more than 50% of voters in that district, then they are the nominee. They are the selected candidate. However, if no candidate gets more than 50% of the vote in the first round, then it goes to the second round of voters. The candidate in each round, the candidate in each race that has the least amount of support it gets eliminated, and the votes get redistributed to the candidates that still remain. So again, reiterating that in every round, the candidate with the least amount of votes gets eliminated, and those votes get redistributed to according to what preference whatever voters voted them 1, let's say, then their second vote goes to the second candidate. It doesn't just disappear. So again, if your top choice candidate is eliminated, your vote goes to the second candidate of your choice, or then the third and the fourth, in that manner. And the process will continue until there are only 2 candidates. And at the end, the candidate with the most votes out of the 2 will be the candidate that gets the election. For the voters, voters will have an exhausted ballot when they start. So let's say you just rank your number 1. So when it comes time to count number 2 votes, your ballot will be exhausted. Your ballot will not be in the count anymore because you didn't put a number 2. Let's say it doesn't get decided in the second round. It gets decided in the third round. If you only picked 1 or 2 choices, then your ballot will not count for the third round because obviously you did not make a third option. So we recommend that voters fill out as many options as possible because it will keep their votes in the running until the very end. There are two types of ballot errors that voters can make. One of them can and will result in the ballot being invalidated. So if it's an overvoting, if you pick the same rank for more than one candidate, then your ballot will get eliminated. So if you put 2 or 3 candidates at number 1 or number 2, your ballot will become eliminated. That's overvoting. The other type of ballot error used in ranked choice voting is called duplicate ranking. Actually, no. So let me backtrack a little bit. Overvoting is if you give the same candidate multiple slots, right? So if you put them on number 1, on number 3, on number 4, and then number 5, your ballot will be invalidated. Now, if you give numerous candidates the same rank, you only get picked one time, right? So let's say you like Fern and Mary so much alike that you put both of them 1, then it will only be counted once, right? So both of them will not get your number 1 vote, right? And don't ask me how it's decided because the science of that is still being debated. But it will not, it won't invalidate your ballot, right? Your ballot will not be tossed, but the vote will only go to one candidate, not the 2, if you put them both at the same rank. So the key takeaways are that voters have 5 options in order of preference. They do not need to take the 5. They can only vote for 1 or 2 or 3 in order of preference. However, by ranking multiple candidates, the voter has the ability to impact the race throughout the duration. So let's say in some of these places, there are 8, 9, 10 candidates for one seat. So most likely, some of these races will not be decided in the first round, right? So if you put a second choice, then your vote will be in the running for second place, right? If you put a third choice, then your vote may help determine the race anyway. If you just leave it at 1, then if the race gets decided in the first round, perfect, your vote counted. But if the race is decided in the second or third round, then your vote might not count, right? Because you didn't rank a number 2 or number 3. So we're urging people to mark as many preferences as they want out of the 5. Again, this is reiterating that, again, you're not forced to make your 5 choices. You have the option, and we highly encourage it. And we're here today not only to present to you on ranked choice voting, but actually to enlist your support. We, Naleo Educational Fund, participated in the New York City push for Census 2020 participation. The city put about $40 million towards setting up an office that allocated dollars to community groups like Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, like the Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights, like Word Up Community Bookshop, and other groups got funding from the city to do outreach in the local communities. That process is not there for ranked choice voting. For ranked choice voting, the city did not allocate enough funding for that process to take place, or even for the immense amount of ads that were done for vote census will not be here for ranked choice voting. So we're really going to rely on active community members to get the information and help bring it to the people in their circles, to people in their networks, be it the seniors at the senior centers, be it the knitting club that you're a part of, or the basketball league that you're a part of, or the dominoes league that you're a part of. We really need community members to get as much information as they can on ranked choice voting and be able to turnkey it into the community networks that they are part of. So this campaign finance board has an ongoing series of train the trainer trainings that will help build more capacity among New Yorkers to go out and talk about ranked choice voting in their own communities. And those are happening twice a week on Wednesdays and Thursdays. The link to sign up for the trainings is below. Again, I did share this presentation with all of you on the committee, so you're able to click on it and sign up. There are additional resources. Voting.nyc has a page dedicated to ranked choice voting alone with videos. I believe they're going to put up palm cards that people can print out later on. So you have all these resources that are at your disposal that you can use to talk about ranked choice voting. And again, for your community members, especially those that are bilingual, English and Spanish, or who just speak Spanish, you can definitely point them to the Ve y Vota hotline at 888-839-8682 to get the questions answered. We find that at least Latino voters still have a lot of questions about simple processes in elections. So for example, for election day in November, we had over 3,000 calls from voters asking for very simple questions. 86% of the questions were on very simple questions like, where's my poll site? Did I miss a registration deadline, et cetera, et cetera. So we know that this is a great resource for the community to have when they just need access to very quick and simple information. And I know that I breezed through it, so I'm gonna open myself up for questions. And Mary, please.
Thank you, Juan. Very enlightening and comprehensive presentation. I'm sure that we have some questions to go around. Liliet, do I see a hand up for you? Okay. Anybody else? Fern, I see your hand up. Maria.
Maria,
Okay.
why don't we, I
Fern?
let Maria go first.
Okay.
Me? All right. Just to for clarification, that the ranking vote is only for the large offices such as mayor, city council, board of president, nothing for district attorney and controllers. The other positions such as judicial, which is very important. We here in the county of Manhattan, New York, Manhattan, we have two positions for civil court. So for, countywide, we want to make sure that people knows that they have to go and vote for the judicial, the judges also, and for district leader. I'm gonna put my pitch there. I'm running for re-election. Anyway, but just the most important is that they should not just stop on the upper positions, which is gonna be overwhelmed by 20 candidates if they qualify to be on the ballot. Just imagine right now there are 30 I believe 30 candidates, people that put their name for mayor. That ballot is going to be incredible for people to understand and to vote and to rank, because they're probably going to have to go from line to line and things like that. So the education is that the ranking is is going to be for the mayor offices and for the other offices that are going to be listed on the ballot is going to be for you just fill out the names that you people are interested in.
I just wanted to clarify, Maria, that controller is one of the offices that's to be ranked.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's mayor, public advocate, controller, board president, member of the city council. Right. It will never be for state senator, for state assembly, for Congress member, for this Democratic district leader, Republican district leader, judicial offices or judge of the civil court. Those will not be in ranked choice voting, but neither will the DA, the district attorneys. But again, mayor, public advocate, controller, board presidents, and member of the city council. Those are the offices with ranked choice voting.
Okay, Fern?
So I have both a question and a request. The question part is, I understand that this ranked choice voting right now is the primary that is upcoming. I happen to live in a district that has voting in March. So this was a particular personal concern to me. And of course, all of us have the primaries coming up in June. Is the plan for the ranked choice voting to ultimately go to general election for those positions, or is it now set at only primary and special elections? Is that permanent?
It is only for primary and special. For
Okay.
now, for the foreseeable future, will only be for primary and specials.
Okay, and second question or request is I would like you to do this presentation for Waikoa in 4 weeks so that the broader aging service provider community can actually see this again, absorb it maybe a little bit better, and decide whether or not some of their staff should be trained to bring this forward to the seniors themselves, or ask you to present again at some center or another.
So absolutely for Waikoa, and I actually really appreciate your thought process in getting staff trained. I think one of the things that we're pushing for, it's not only because of capacity, but it's also because we really want to empower and encourage the trusted voices. You know, I'm a bit known in Washington Heights Inwood, but that's Washington Heights Inwood, right? Once I get outside of that, I'm some stranger guy. So I know that the more local voices that people see every day that are talking about this, the better. So I really appreciate that. But we are at your disposal for the centers, for Waikoa, in English and Spanish, and I could find other languages that are needed as well.
I may ask you about Chinese, Juan.
So we are part of a group that's working with the CFB, the Campaign Finance Board, and they're working to enlist as many partners in different languages as possible. To be quite honest with you, I think Chinese we're struggling with. We've gotten some of the South Asian languages like Bengali, but we're struggling with Chinese. I will circle back, Fern, and contact you directly when I find out who's doing it in Chinese.
So I have 40 members among my centers who are Chinese speaking, and we know that there are several large buildings of seniors in Harlem that are primarily Chinese speaking. So whenever you can circle back to me, that would be great.
Will do.
Anyone else? Okay.
Well, I wanted to say thank you so much, Mary and the committee, Fern and Richard and Joseph and everyone else. I do see raised hands, so I'm going to shut up, Mary, and let you moderate.
That's okay. There aren't any raised hands, so.
There's a question from Marielle.
Okay.
In the Q&A part, she said, how are the BOE employees being trained?
Yeah, Marielle, you point to a very good question, and Maria's probably going to give me heat for this, but we noticed that even with the last elections, when we had the onset of both early voting and the expansion of vote by mail, we noticed that there were a lot of issues with poll site workers not being adequately trained. So, for example, I remember one anecdote that the provision was that you can take physically your vote by mail ballot, your absentee ballot, and go drop it off at a poll site. And I know at least one of my colleagues at Naleo went to do that, and the poll worker told them they couldn't do that was not allowed. So for the last election, those little things were fixed, but we did know that there were issues with training. The NYC BOE is working very closely with the CFB, the Campaign Finance Board, to ensure that these conversations are being had, Marielle. I will not put my hand in the fire. I can't do that. But the efforts are being made to both streamline processes, simple things. For example, at some point, the terminology for ranked choice voting in Spanish, the CFB was using one term and BOE was using another term. So we thought, oh my God, when you go out to the communities to educate people, you're going to confuse them, right? More than necessary. So those things, Marielle, are being worked on, streamlining communication, and the coalition that we're part of is really pushing the BOE to ensure that training is adequate. The BOE, if you ask them, they're saying, yes, our people are trained, we're doing training every day. But again, I think it's one of those things that the more eyes are on the issue, the better. I hope that answers your question, Marielle.
I think when we send out the announcement, I think we're going to encourage programs to have staff participate for this. And I think you're going to have a really rich set of questions, because I think that people who are on the ground working directly with seniors will be able to see the actual questions that seniors will be asking.
Absolutely.
There's another question or comment down here. Oh, no, just a thanks from Maria.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, I have my hands raised again.
Okay, go for it.
What Juan just said that I was going to jump on him. I'm not going to jump on him. It's just that right now, there is so many things going on within elections, people, perceptions on how inspector or people who works at the polls are trained and what their responsibilities. Some people wait until the last minute to go and vote, and then they expect someone to help them. The poll workers are not supposed to help, only to tell them how to do certain things. So, and then there is a lot of politicians and candidates that are having people observing and pushing people to vote their way, and that creates sometimes a chaos. Now, when you say, Juan, that the inspector about the paper ballot, people dropping paper ballots, sometimes people thought that they could take advantage of the two possibilities. Drop the ballot because thinking that they weren't going to be counted, and then go and vote in person the same day. So this is once you put a paper ballot in, you should go just walk out. Either you do one thing or the other. And so there are some malicious people who will do that, just probably to test the system or whatever. But we try to make sure that we educate and to train district leader. We had the right years ago to also train people, but now that's not allowed because that's partisan and things like that. So to clarify something about firm, the reason why the ranking is going to be done on the primaries is because that is at the time where you're going to be selecting the candidate that is going to be running on the general election against the other party's candidate. So for this one, it's just to select the person, the right person for that particular position. All right, so that's so anyway, we try to select and to pick people who are all willing to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work on the polling places until like 10 and 12. Not too many people, like to do that. But I mean, we hope that we can, we are trying to get college, students and people that probably will be interested in the future for to be, to participate in politics. But it's been hard. Most of the polling places are manned by people who have been doing that thing for 20, 25 years. So, it's really, it's not as easy to do as some people think. All right, thank you. I'm having my juice.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm starting to say, for a firm, while I'm speaking, listening, I got 3 phone calls from people getting this This vacation. Anyway, okay, continue. I'm sorry, Mary. Thank you.
That's okay. No problem. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much, Juan. I appreciate, and many of us will be seeing you at Waikoa.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with you directly. I picked up your email information from the presentation you sent out, and I'll email you after this meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe and well.
Stay well. Okay, any other old business that we need to talk about? I don't have anything. New business.
I'm just gonna say, can I just say one thing?
Yep.
In the course of this meeting, the DYCD RFPs have been released. I got the announcement of all of the DYC NDA applications that will be available. So if you're not in Passport with the City of New York, you need to be, because that's where RFPs are being released now. And I wanted to let those who are on the call know.
All right. Ideas for presentations. I've already gotten 2 requests for April. One is from Jocelyn Manaya. She wants to just update us on what's going on with the DA's office, and hasn't been able, to do that for a while. So I suggested that she come for the April meeting, and also got a request through the office for a lady named Yolanda Rodriguez, who is the outreach director at the Josephine Herrick Project, a not-for-profit organization in New York City that provides free photography classes to underserved communities throughout NYC. And I'll just read from her briefly. Our mission is to give voice to underrepresented voices through photography, which empowers people with the creative tools to heal, see the world differently, communicate across cultures, and advocate for themselves and their communities. So I have invited her to present in April as well.
Wow.
Yeah, sounds like a really interesting project. And of course, they go into what they're doing now with, the restrictions of COVID and all that. So, could be some interesting outcomes from that presentation as well.
Mary, would you ask Jocelyn to also include information, if she has any, on the current scams and spams and things that are impacting seniors? Because I know there are a number of them, including not just the get lifetime insurance for your car and Social Security scams, but there have been others with people asking for vaccine, personal information, and I'll get you a vaccine appointment and things like that. So anything that they know from the DA's office and any recommendations they can make, I think would be valuable.
Yes, I'm sure that she has that in mind as well, but I will, talk to her about that. Any other ideas? I know that we're going to be wanting to talk about the budget long about May. And I wrote down as an item, just so I don't forget about it, talking about devices and connectivity for seniors. I think that we need to get that into our budget requests.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we also want to think about in May or June, sort of thinking about the reopening of services for seniors, and the in-person services. So even if that's just like a conversation among ourselves, I think it needs to be part of the aging committee's topic and concern.
Right. Okay.
Richard,
Harry,
Richard had raised his hand.
just an announcement. I just put in Q&A the list of comorbidities that make people eligible for vaccines, plus the list of eligible zip codes for vaccination up here.
It's not there, Richard. I'm just
No.
gonna send it to her by email so that she can send it out to everybody.
Okay.
But
Vern,
it didn't-
can I
but
just
it
ask a
didn't-
quick question about what you said about the RFPs? Is that the senior center RFP that was?
No, if you remember, so I don't know how many of the people on this call have previously applied to DYCD for funding, but the Department of Youth and Community Development used to hold an annual meeting in the community to meet with the community and ask them what were the needs in the community prior to them rolling out an RFP. But there are a bunch of standard things: economic development, family, and children's services. And it's one of the ways that we have gotten money historically for transportation and for dementia services and other like pinpoint services that go beyond the senior center broad umbrella.
Because we noticed this week that the RFP that was listed for the senior centers for the past several months has disappeared entirely.
It's because they don't know the budget. I actually spoke to somebody at DIFTA and asked. They don't know what the budget is going to be. Without a budget, how do they put out an RFP?
So in other words, the RFP will not be coming out right now.
There's some delay. They don't even know how long. They're probably waiting for the federal budget.
Thank God for small delays. Okay.
But DYCD money is funneled block grant money from the feds. So they already know how much that is, and that's why they were able to roll out the RFP.
Thank you for that clarification, because we were wondering why it disappeared right after the commissioner said it's coming any day now. With Passover coming, that's very, very complicated for us. So we took it disappearing as a good sign.
I would.
So you would. Okay. Thank you.
But I don't think it's a long disappearance. I think we'll see it reappear.
So who didn't you go to?
For May.
Right.
May.
Okay. As long as we get past Passover, then we're already have.
I know.
And maybe reopening would be nice too. I'm glad to hear that you are talking about doing that sooner.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Yes.
Really? Has anyone at DIFTA given you that feeling, or that's just your personal feeling?
No, hints, but nobody is saying anything outright.
But they're talking May, June, July, August, maybe?
So maybe June, July, August.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's an extra prayer, Joseph. Please. For the good of the seniors.
All right. So our next meeting will be on April 1st.
April Fool's Day, what?
April Fool's Day, right? So
Shirley, where's the baby?
Huh?
Shirley, what is the baby? Did you miss it? We missed the baby.
The baby went home. I think it's a little bit of time, right? He's 4.5 weeks old. He went home last week. We're gonna have him back for Passover. So
no, because you're the only one that brings the baby.
The next.
Lenny's and the rabbi. Rabbi have a bunch
I'm
of.
not home right now. My kids are in school. Thank God.
It's time for you
not for school.
How the little girls.
April 1st is Chol Hamoed Pesach, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Right, I know that might be complicated. I have to see what my schedule's like at that point.
See that this is funny. This is the aging committee, and then we have a whole bunch of members that have babies.
Right.
Interaction between babies and seniors.
We gotta all try to stay young at every stage.
Exactly. We have to plan for our future. Anyway, April 1st at 10:30. So motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right.
All right, 11:50 a.m. adjourned early today. Good deal.
Thank you, everyone.
Excellent meeting, Mary.
Everybody stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you all
Happy,
next week.
happy Women's Month for all of you the ladies.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
You too, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We feel young with that.
I thought that was every day.
Smart man.
Especially for mommies.
I'll